Sue's here. So today I will attempt to give this dress a pretty texture. All I've given it is this broderie anglaise because it's the whole, I guess, idea of the dress. I made this 3D mesh a while ago, so let's finally give this some texture, shall we? What I've done first is I've exported the UV map to use for when I make the base texture, and then here we have the original texture for the top that I used in my mesh, and it's a top from Get Together, and I just used this because it had that special color, and then I altered it a bit when I did the 3D meshing, and then I'm just adjusting the texture of it to the UV map, so I'm sure that the sleeves are the proper length, for instance, and then I will also remove the buttons and make it color match the dress you may have seen, because I also exported a dress texture where I'm gonna use the skirt from for the dress, because I really like the texture of this skirt, which I think the dress is also from Get Together. I just really think the texture would look good for my skirt, and then I'm just color matching because I want it obviously to be the same color. And yeah, it is a bit of a process adding all these different bits, but it's honestly, I did have some comments at some point asking me how I did base textures, and it's honestly, this is basically what I do. It's not that difficult making the base textures, it's what comes after that's a bit more difficult, I would say. Yeah, and basically I've just adjusted it to fit the UV map, so I'm sure it actually looks good. And then now I will import the mesh into the mesh itself has 3 cuts, and I know this dress also has 3 cuts and it's base game, so this is why I'm importing it to that one. So let's see what it actually looks like, and here it is, the first draft of the dress. I mean, it's a bit simple, right? It's a bit meh. There's not really any pizzazz to it, although I still do like the broderie anglaise, although I don't feel like the dress does it justice, and also looks quite weird. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some highlights and add some satin effect to it, and this is quite a process, so I will be going back and forth, I just know it, because it's really difficult to imagine what it'll look like when you have a 2D version of it versus a 3D version. But what I do is I basically just add white lines, and then I blur them a bit, and yeah, I think the layer type is something called soft light. My GIMP is in Danish, so sorry for that. And then it's just a bunch of back and forth trying to make it look good. So this is what the final texture looks like, and I'm so pleased with it. I think it looks much better than the old dull one, but just for comparison, let's see the old one here. It's so dull, nothing is going on, it's bleh. So I'm really happy with how it ended up looking, but now we still need to do more because I'm not quite sure about this Poudre Anglaise I chose. I'm actually a bit unsure about it. I want to test some alternatives to see if I can find something better. You know, the grass is always greener. The turquoise blurb is just the UV map that I've just colored so I can see it more easily. And yeah, it's really just a lot of experimenting, and ignore the skirt you just saw because I did not end up liking it, so I removed it immediately after I finished my Poudre Anglaise. But yeah, it's actually a lot of work and it's a lot of experimenting when I do textures, because I never quite know where I'm headed when I make something. I just go wherever the wind blows, I guess. So it's a lot of experimenting and a lot of unnecessary work because I'm not a planner. I just go with the flow, and this is me going with the flow, and I'm not sure I like the flow, so I have to experiment a lot with the flow to make it nice and pretty. And I think I'm going back to the original Anglaise Poudre Anglaise. Sorry French guys, but I'm gonna add a bit more to it. Just like I made the dress less basic, I also need to make this less basic. So I'm added a bit of highlights around the little holes, because usually when you see Poudre Anglaise, they have these stitchings that makes the stitchings around the holes appear lighter than the rest. Because it's, I guess the fabric is cotton and a bit see-through, but the stitching isn't. And then I'm adding a bit of highlights to make it look like it's fabric, like it's real. It's not something from a game, I swear. It has depth to it. And see, look, isn't this, yeah. And then I'm just comparing to figure out what I like the most, and I just can't not like this. It's just simple and it's perfect, I feel, because there's always this dilemma of finding these details, these lazy details especially, of good quality, but not like excessively detailed either, because they will need to be shrunk down to fit the standards of EA of their maps, because I think it's 1024 times 2048 pixels. So there's a limit to how much detail I can get without it being all pixelated. So I do like a good, am I rambling? I do like a good medium between something that looks really detailed, but where I don't have to shrink it all the way down and then it becomes really poor quality. So it needs to be simple yet detailed, and I feel like it just matches it a lot. And I rambled. But what I'm doing now is I found all these pretty little details, whatever they're called, decals, I have no idea, on my little trip to Google. This is not sponsored, by the way. And I found all these pretty embroidery stitches, whatever, in gold, and I was like, I need these. And sorry for sounding like a cow, but I really needed these. So I decided to use these in my dress, and what I did to make them more usable is I just removed the background, because, I mean, as you can see, they're not perfectly, the background isn't perfectly removed, but it doesn't matter because I shrink them down so much that you can't tell at all. So it works, I feel. And yeah, here they have a lot of details, but there's a simplicity to them, so the details won't completely disappear when I shrink them all the way down, as you can see. And what I'm doing here is very important, because I'm matching the seam so it looks almost seamless, and it's quite easy. It's just making a duplicate of the little detail, the little leaf, and then you can see the seam on this texture, and you just use that for figuring out where the seam is and where you should delete and add. So I usually, when I'm on the left side, I usually I mark the part that is within the seam, and then I delete it, and then I make the layer of that detail, the one that stays and has not, where nothing has been deleted, I make that more wide. So when I move the little part of it on the other side of the seam that will go over to the right, I can still see sort of the Y coordinate of where it's supposed to go, so it actually matches up. And if that did not make sense, which I don't blame you for not understanding, because it barely makes any sense to me, you can see me doing it. If you can slow it down a bit and see how I actually do it. But yeah, and look, it's taken shape. I'm not really sure about these grapes though. Yeah. Oh, and this looks whack, but it's to make it look like it's embroidered, okay? I swear, because it always has these little stitches, and it just adds a bit of details to it that makes it look like it's stitched without putting too much effort into it. You know? Because the less effort, the better, she said after working on this texture for like 4 hours. But yeah, there's not really... I do a lot of experimenting, as I mentioned previously, and I never have really a preconceived plan of what I'm gonna do. I just do it. And also a thing I almost always do after I've made a texture that I'm happy with, or somewhat happy with, is I export the mesh with the texture so I can fix all the little annoying details. And that is currently what I'm doing, but please bear in mind that I just downloaded this new version of Blender, and I've been using the really old version, the 2.76 version, for so long, and it doesn't really work the same as the new one. So some of I have cut some of it out because you don't need to see that. You don't need to see me stumbling around in Blender, not being able to figure out how to do the different things because I can't recognize any of the little icons. But I didn't really I felt like it looked too square. So I'm making it more boobie-esque. I hate myself. No, I don't. I'm making it more round, okay? So it doesn't look so square, because I don't know anyone with square boobs, although it might have been fashion at some point, or maybe it could become fashion. I'm not willing to make it into a fashion though, so you will have to settle for these more normal looking boob area. And then I'm just removing the doubles, because I always end up leaving doubles everywhere and it looks off and I don't like it. Oh, and then I forgot to add a bottom to the dress, so we'll have to add that now. I'm just merging by pressing M and then merging at center and moving it up slightly so it looks somewhat natural. Again, merging and then splitting, if I know how to do it. Where is it? The new Blender is very different from the old one, okay? I swear, guys, I swear. I literally spent like 20 minutes trying to figure this shit out, and it's not even funny. And I removed some of it in this video, but because I was like, they don't need to see me fumbling so much. But yeah, it's in the UV, it's on there, it's texture, and now let's try to experiment a bit more. Yeah. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why. I wouldn't be able to tell you, because this is just, I'm not sure what the purpose is, because it's just stupid. It's pointless. But I guess I hoped it would look good, and then I realized, it doesn't look good, not at all. And then I tried experimenting a bit more with the pretty details I found, decals. I actually haven't drunk any coffee today, which is quite impressive considering how absolutely whack I am, but I think it's just because I'm alone in my room with Nuka attacking my feet. Nuka is my dog, by the way, if you don't know. Okay, it's not some random weirdo attacking my feet. Alone in my room on a Sunday afternoon, recording this, I guess, after I just spent a whole ass day making this texture yesterday, trying to explain my process with it, but my process is just constant chaos and experimentation, and it looks like it's, whenever I post my work in progresses, I always feel like it looks like it was always meant to be like that, and I always knew what I was doing, but I don't. I literally don't. I just, experimenting is just the way to go. I swear. Oh. Sorry. Look at me. Looking at me. Little cutie. Did I miss out on anything? Yeah, I'm really sorry for all these distractions, but you can always mute me if you don't like to listen to me, because I'm currently in the same mood as I am when I've drunk coffee, so it is what it is. But as you can see, I just think it's important for you guys to see my process, because it always, there's nothing wrong with experimenting and failing. As you can see, I fail quite a lot when I make stuff. It is just part of the process. It's failing a lot, and then when you're finally done, you have this amazing product that you're just really happy with. I mean, also just, I'm really happy I postponed making the texture for this dress. I think I meshed it like 6 months ago or something like that. A lot of time ago. Okay, kisses. And it wouldn't have been the same if I had immediately made the texture. I did have another idea back then for like fully embroidery anglaise, and I'm really happy I did not do that, because it is supposed to be the sort of masterpiece, centerpiece thingy of my Lovetales collection. You know, that's inspired by fairytales. So it's the wedding dress, a princess wedding dress, and I feel like it would have been a bit too dull if it had been just embroidery anglaise all the way around, all the way around. So I'm really happy it ended up like this, and now I'm adding the final details, which is the final details, the pearls, okay? Because I love pearls. In case you haven't noticed, I absolutely adore pearls. They are quite possibly the most beautiful thing ever. And oh yeah, by the way, there's a tool in GIMP where you can sort of mirror whatever you're doing, and it just helps a lot if you want to draw on it or whatever. Also, always remember when you add pearls that the shadow you make should be a separate layer for when you make the spec map, so the shadow doesn't become part of the pearl spec map, because usually a pearl spec is black. And are you ready? Oh, isn't it pretty? I need this in real life. I need all of my dresses in real life. Look at all the details! And the little golden trim, the golden edges, and it will be so pretty. Imagine it being see-through, the embroidery like this, and then, I mean, this is the first draft of it, and it's fine, I guess. If I saw this, I would be like, oh, it's quite pretty. If I saw someone else that made it quite, and then I would be like, oh, beautiful. If I had seen someone make this, and then this, I would be like blown away, because this is amazing, and I appreciate all the time I put into this, because I'm really happy with it, and I feel like it's perfect for this future pack.